They would fall again till they stopped the opening.
Drama magazine religiously.
And I look at the cupboard, and I look in the shelves, and I read the quilling.
Scotland, yeah!
Good. Stop tonight. Get away from this place at all.
Strangle the doctor who put them on me.
His name is Victor. He isn't good.
No. Because I want to marry you.
Oh my God.
No, God.
What is my duty?
Sir!
Then it was I who begged him to help me.
Hello and welcome to Stage Perspective, and my name is Charles Peters, and this is a very different stage perspective, as you can see by our screen, because we are joined by several different people. This is the cast of Scripps Ranch Theater's Baskerville, which is a Sherlock Holmes comedy, and I wanted to have everybody on to talk about it, and we're just going to go around real quick. I'm going to start with my screen here, and well, I'll just try to jump through. I'll just start with, we have Russell Clements. Give us a wave. We have Marie Trester. And we have Robin Thompson. Woo. And Bobcat Himlin. And Michael Lundy. And of course, Darcy Harman. And Darcy was our ASM, but that is really being minimalist in saying that, because had she not been there, the show wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. So welcome all of you. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely thrilled that you guys could all be here together at one time. I feel like just that in and of itself is a monumental task that we were able to make this happen. So this is great. Thank you. How is everyone?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Doing good.
You guys were all so chatty before we started.
Pressure.
So I'm just going to throw stuff out, and whoever wants to pick up the ball. This is not very formal for me. What made you want to audition for this show for Baskerville?
Well, I'll start with that. I mean, why would I want to audition at Sherlock Holmes? Please.
Yeah.
One of the great stage roles. It's always a fun kind of story, and no matter what it is. So, of course, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
For me, I looked at the script beforehand, and I got the idea that it was an opportunity to play a lot of different characters. Maybe, if I weren't cast as Holmes or Watson, and I ended up actually being a lot of different characters in the show, and it was so much fun, and being able to exercise all those muscles.
Yeah, I forget. Were you man one or man two?
I was an actor two.
Actor two, yeah. It says in the script it's Sherlock, Watson, and then it's what's the character's name? I forgot
actor one, actor two, and actress one, but
right.
Mostly Sir Henry.
Sir Henry, that's what I couldn't think of. Right, Sir Henry Baskerville, and that's it. And yeah, but you played a lot of characters. How about you, Michelle? What made you want to audition?
Definitely the chance to play multiple characters like Bob. I think that was very exciting, but then once you're cast, also like very terrifying. Like suddenly like, oh, you got the part, but now here's the challenge.
Right.
But I can only blame myself because I wanted the challenge.
Yeah.
And I also really wanted to work with you as a director.
Thank you.
I think that this piece fits so well with sort of your toolbox of comedy that you so beautifully have, and it was really great to be able to see like how you work physical bits. So that was also really exciting for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. What about you, Michael?
I was a big fan of Ken Ludwig for many years. I love his writing.
Yeah.
I love so many of his plays. So I jumped at that chance, and I I went in wanting to play one of the actors. I was like, oh man, that'll be really fun to play a bunch of different roles. And then you called me and offered me Watson, and I was like, sure. I just want to be part of the show. What a blessing. No, what a blessing. It was meant to be.
You were such a good Watson just because, you have such a great heart, and that's such a big integral part of Watson's characters. He's just,
It's funny because I've been an actor long enough that I've gone into many shows wanting one role and getting offered another one. And then usually it ends up being a good thing. And this was the perfect example of that. Yeah. And Robin was so good. And it was just it was a gift. It was great. It was great.
I felt like we really connected. I think there's a little bit of those characters in each of us. And so it just made sense. And just the chemistry between us as people really worked.
Yeah.
The characters.
Yeah. And I know that you and Russell, I'll get to you in a second, Russell, and you did a show which is very similar to this with Eric and Marie Wise, who I've also interviewed, which is the 39 Steps, which is.
And it's funny you mentioned that. I went into that show wanting to play one of the clowns, and then I got off of Hannah, and I'm like, all right, there's something happening here where what I want is not necessarily what's meant to be. But again, that was another perfect example. Russell, you were great in that show. You and Jacob, oh my God, and Erica. And it was just everything kind of falls into place. And I trust all that, Richard Hannay, great. Good time.
Yeah. Russell, what about you?
So as mentioned, the chance to play multiple characters. I'm a big fan of, I think the way that Jefferson Mace put it, the kind of Nick Bottom roles where, let me be that. And let me be that. And let me be that,
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. And, Michael and I met through the 39 Steps. So, we're a real box there. Actually, I'm roommates with the other clown. So,
yeah.
So I do love.
We're roommates?
We are, yeah. Yeah,
we that's awesome. Invite me over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. We'll talk.
So, I mean, the other thing about this show is that, Michael, I don't know if you knew, how familiar you were with Sherlock stories, but Baskerville is a different kind of story because Holmes is really not in it a lot. It's written, everything is written from Watson's perspective, but Watson really tells the story. Did you know that going in?
I didn't. And then actually after our whole show was done, I watched a version of the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yeah. And which one did you watch?
It was, I think it was from the 40s. So I don't know who was in it, but it was quite
Rathbone, yeah.
Yeah, I think, that's what I'm guessing. But that was definitely apparent when I saw the movie too, that Holmes kind of comes in and out intermittently.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
I enjoyed after the show.
I love the Ken Ludwig
recent Baskerville version, the Benedict Cumberbatch version, and they kind of make a joke out of that, that Holmes has to leave for half the story, and then he comes back. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. This is my story.
That one's really good too. That's kind of weird. Is that one just called Sherlock, right?
Yeah.
The series.
It's sort of inspired by the originals, but they'll make a big spin on the different stories.
Yeah.
So they kind of.
But I love that Ken Ludwig mixes, he keeps the creepy elements of the story, and it's still an homage to Sherlock Holmes, but yet it's silly and goofy, and he's such a good writer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and I think it's one of his more creative pieces because there's so much going on in that. Whereas a lot of his stuff is one room bits. You're in two rooms or something. It doesn't. There's not a lot of set changes in this. There's a lot of set changes. So had you guys done research? Did you guys do research when she got cast? Did you do research, start watching Sherlock stuff? Or I know, Michelle, you were reading stories during rehearsals. You grabbed had a book or something. So yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I started reading.
Read this stuff. No, go ahead.
Oh, I said I started reading my copy of Hound of the Baskervilles from my Sherlock Holmes book.
Right. Yeah. And what about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I definitely read because I'd read some in the past, but I was not as familiar as other members of the cast who had a lot of Sherlock knowledge.
Are you referring to anyone in particular?
Potentially Robin.
Well, I didn't have a lot of knowledge going in. I know Charles gave me like a list of stuff to watch. And I devoured
Really?
that.
You seemed like you were like the smartest Shakespearean Sherlock.
I was doing my best to
expert
study,
in the world.
but I think no, I didn't know that much going in.
Yeah, I got like as soon as I got cast, I'm like, okay, time to buy a copy of like Hunt of the Baskervilles, boom. And you know, and but then also what was great is looking up images of you know the West Country and Devon and
Right.
London and stuff like that, because I'm a very like mental image type of person who
Yeah.
get a feel for stuff. And,
Well, and especially in this show, because there is no set, there wasn't
Right.
anything. So you're like, you really have to visualize. I would imagine. So, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle does such a good job of painting the atmosphere through the landscape, like, you know, very like romantic era type situation,
Yeah.
you know, where he uses nature to really bring across like this spooky kind of atmosphere. And you know, the big ghost dog is such a big thing in English folklore too.
Yeah.
That like I think it's like he uses that really effectively.
Yeah.
And I think Ken Ludwig does too.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I would imagine that story was really scary for its day. You know, we have limited frame of reference, so desensitized. So here's a question: What was your favorite moment in the show? And this goes to everybody, including Darcy, because I know Darcy has her favorites.
Is Darcy's the rabbit?
The rabbit.
Yeah, the rabbit was fun.
What was your character's name again? I forget. Michelle, what was your favorite? What was the lady's name?
Which
Mrs.
lady?
Barrymore?
I played so many.
Oh no. I mean, because like you were actress one, and then you played. How many characters
Sybil,
did you play?
right?
Like 10, 8?
I think it was, I want to say 12 or 13. I don't
Right.
remember off the top of my
Yeah.
head the exact number, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really hard to like pick a favorite from that show or like a favorite moment. I definitely have like favorite rehearsal moments of things that happen in rehearsal.
We got very
Like, I
silly.
remember the first time we like got that wig out, and there were just moments like we could not stop laughing. Like I literally was like, I can't go on.
This is the big red wig, right? Yeah. That you were whipping around and hitting Michael with as you talked.
And then I don't know. There was like moments when you were teaching me like the cane bit. I don't know. I have like very like fond favorite rehearsal moments. But it's hard to pick a show moment or a favorite character.
Yeah.
It's just it was in like the backstage shenanigans. It was just.
I liked your Mrs. Barrymore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You played Mrs. Barrymore, and you also played Mrs. Hudson. I'm just like blanking on all this stuff you played, but I have to tell the people, if you don't know the show, you should get the play and read it or try to see it. But it's Baskerville by Ken Ludwig, who is a comedic playwright, writes really, really well, as you've heard us talk about. But Sherlock, there's only really what happens is it's Sherlock and Watson, and then between actor 1 and 2 and actress 1, they all play all the different characters. So there's about 40 different characters to tell the story of the Hound of the Baskervilles, and the 3 actors, Bob Himlin and Michelle Marie Trester and Russell Clements, play those other 40 characters between them. So it's quite an undertaking, and there's a lot of quick changes. I think, Michelle, you had a really bad one at one point. You were like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So you ended up making it work, which was great. But yeah, so
I mean, I made it work because of Darcy and our other dresser, Stephanie.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the only way we would have survived this show at all.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Stephanie.
I also had
Alex.
cheat sheets like everywhere backstage.
Right. I was like, can you?
Sheer madness of us, like me and Stephanie and Michelle and Russell definitely, but Bob too, to an extent, just like running back and forth all the way around the theater the entire show.
Yeah, like thank God for our dressers, because like literally those couldn't have happened without y'all. And also, like, I noticed the so like 39 Steps, which was the show I was coming from to do this, like you can tell that they had to perform what they were writing because they would always give themselves like, okay, here's like half a page. There was always some like good cushions. This you can tell Ken Ludwig just didn't have to because he's all like, you have half a line, deal with it, like Ken, what are you doing? You're killing me here, bro.
Yeah, and we had one that I couldn't fix. I was like, I don't know what to do, and we ended up having you do it on stage.
Yeah,
music.
Swapping hats.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that brings up the Lestrade Sir Henry hat switch. That, we did. One line is one and one line is the other, and it's just a hat switch.
I'm sorry, you have to tell us about that. You have to describe that to us a little bit of what that is, so that people know.
Okay, well, so I'm playing Sir Henry and Inspector Lestrade, and they both happen to be in the same place at the same time at the climax of the show, and Ludwig actually writes it such that one line from Sir Henry is followed up by another line from Inspector Lestrade, and followed up by another line from Sir Henry, and all we had to play with was the accent that I did and the hats that I wore. And so Michelle actually palmed one of the hats, I think Sir Henry's hat after I took it off, or Lestrade's hat to put on, and so we kind of coordinated that, and that was probably my favorite moment in the show. It actually, somebody stopped me at a show that I was attending at the Civic that had attended our show, and they pointed out that moment in the show where the hat switch is one of their favorite parts.
That's nice. That's nice. We had people that came and saw this from the production at the Globe, because the Globe did it like a few years ago, like before we did it, just a couple of years, and said our production was better. I'm like, thank you. It's quite a high compliment. So they didn't do it in the big theater; they did it in the small, theater in the round. So their set design was really interesting too. But that was a nice compliment. So yeah. What about you, Michael?
I wonder, like in a moment like with Sir Henry and Lestrade,
I have to mention Bob as the maid at the top of the show. That was pretty funny to me. Because I always, for some reason, because he didn't really have any lines in that scene, it's not like I would forget he was there, but I would turn and there would be this maid and I'd be like, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. And then I also love the moment when we get to the, what was the name of the mansion where we went?
I guess it's Baskerville Hall, right?
Baskerville Hall, duh. I'm smart, I remember. But when we get to Baskerville Hall and, Michelle and Russell were so weird and hilarious. And I couldn't even look at her, and she's like, walk this way. And then I kind of walked the way she did. That whole sequence was really funny.
Yeah.
But, it was all so great. Like Michelle said, I can't really pick. There's so many good moments. Like anytime Russell came out with that butterfly net, I just was like, don't laugh, don't laugh.
Yeah. Well, I remember as the maid, weren't you just scrubbing over? Didn't you start to work your way towards him? You were scrubbing in his pathway or something.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was funny. And I know Darcy, you have two favorite moments, don't you? Your absolute, you just love doing this. You have to tell us about that.
Are you referring? Oh man, which parts? The parts where I got to do some mime kind of on stage was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The standing there with the wall, being like, "I'm a wall. Don't look at me. I'm a wall."
Right. Right.
And the bunny bit.
The bunny bit. Yep.
Throwing the Victor doll on stage to attack.
Right.
And
yes.
the dog, and coordinating all of the set changes. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But the bunny bit was actually Bill, the stage manager up in the booth, would be like, okay, go on. Now stop where you're at. Make the bunny look at everybody. Okay, go, stop. That's
funny. I I think one of my favorite moments was sitting in the audience. I'm house left and watching the audience with the dog, because there had been such a buildup to the Hound of the Baskervilles, and I watched that whole side of the audience jump about a foot, because there's fog and there's lighting and there's scary music, and then the dog leaps out and that whole audience leapt up like, oh my God. And then they would stop, and then there would just be this roar of laughter. And that was so gratifying, because you're just like, the dog was so ridiculous. And I went through so many things with the dog, like, how am I going to do the dog? I'd seen people do it where there was a guy in a costume. It looked real. We were trying to do a shadow. There's all this stuff. And when she brought that big dog in with that goofy, we had this big dog it was like a beagle, right? Or a basset hound. And it had this droopy dog face on it. And it was
like
about
one of those bears you win at a carnival, but it
right.
was a dog.
It was like 5 feet tall, and it was huge, and you would just throw it out on top of Bob, and he would wrestle with it like Martin Landau and Ed Wood with the octopus, which is what I kind of thought of. I thought, well, that'll work.
It worked.
Caught it every night.
Yeah, you did. You caught it every night. And it was the same with the dummy too. They weren't expecting it, but the dog was the biggest reaction to me. It was funny. So, yeah. So, Robin, did you do a lot of research? I know you watch movies and stuff, but I mean, were you a big Sherlock fan before all of this?
Not especially. I'd seen stuff, and I'd read, I like Conan Doyle, I've read The Lost World and stuff like that, but I hadn't actually gotten that much into Sherlock.
Yeah.
It's like Sherlock is so pervasive in pop culture. It's kind of like I didn't need to go seek that out. Everybody just knows that.
Sure.
So it was kind of interesting then starting to do some research and doing the show and seeing the different takes on it. And there was more there than I realized.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the relationship between Holmes and Watson before the show.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there's a great Russian series that's very true to the books, and the Reichenbach Falls scene is very emotional when you watch. There's a little mini trailer of it. If you go online and look at it, you really get the emotion of Watson losing his friend, and thinking he's really dead. It's really hard. So, yeah, that's cool. So, Russell, did you have a favorite moment in the show?
Oh yeah, that's
that's a loaded question. I know.
That's a hard one, man. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking there's so much fun stuff in that. I enjoyed handing my Stapleton accoutrement to an audience member. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
All the who are they? I just looked up their name. Not Sourberry, because that's Oliver.
The Barrymores?
Barrymores, yes.
Oh, the Barrymores. Yeah, I think I had to tell you to pull it back on the Barrymores at one point, because it was just it's so much. It's too much. You guys need to you got to pull it back, because it was too funny. It was becoming too much. So yeah. It was great.
It's not one of those actors where you have to be like, give me more. Come on, give me more.
That was the great thing that I loved about all of you, is it was just a big party, and everybody just jumped in with both feet. There was no well, I don't know, everybody just did it. I mean, the only person that I didn't have a handle on in the beginning was you, Bob, because I didn't know you that well, and you were kind of quiet when you came into rehearsals. I think a couple times I had to ask you, are you doing all right? You doing okay? But once you started working, I was like, oh, well, you would just do stuff. And I was like, that's great. It's fantastic. So yeah, it was really good. And everybody worked together, which was so wonderful. There's just, everybody just did stuff. It was like, okay, that's what we're doing. One of my favorite scenes for you guys is the wind, doing the wind scene. Walking against the wind was just, I just thought you guys, I mean, I taught it to you, but you guys did it and you made it work. And that's the beauty of directing and acting. To me, it's like, I can I can't do it for you. You guys did it. And it was so beautiful. So it just looked so great. And even Michelle having to do the baby carriage thing and running across. I mean, that would get huge laughs, so yeah.
I'd completely forgotten about that scene. That was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Waiting in the wings. I forgot about that.
That's such a good scene. Yeah. And it looks so right, yeah. And you guys would blow off each other. What's that?
Overtaking us in the baby carriage.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add that scene to my list of favorite moments.
To your list of favorite moments?
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite moments are things that are not in the script. When Michael would mumble something to me just before a scene would start to make me crack up.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Michael did that all the time.
Like, what would you say?
You got me. There was one moment where you and I were on stage, Bob, and there was something, and I know I added something. I was bad actor. I was like ad-libbing to be selfish, and you started laughing, and I started laughing, and I was like, we got to nip this in the bud. And, we got through it, but yeah.
Too much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Russell had that line. What was the character that Michelle played? Beryl.
Beryl.
Yeah, his line was Beryl, and he just like Beryl, and it just became this like whole other thing. And I was just like, that's good stuff.
I remember Beryl became a thing backstage. Anything that rhymed with that.
The Beryl of this came.
Oh shoot!
Dude, I remember that would make the audience only kind of ha 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 ha, maybe like if we're lucky. Backstage we're like, dude, Beryl, Michael.
Oh, that reminds me, the trip through the audience too. I hadn't seen that at scripts before. Actors actually going and excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, through a whole row of the audience.
Yeah.
But that was an adventure every night.
That was kind of the idea. It was like, they've never done this before. I'm going to do this. So yeah. There was a lot of that.
Not a lot of legwork.
No, there's not. It's not a regular. Those are tight aisles. They're not like regular. They don't feel like regular theater aisles. They're a little tight. So like we could take out a row and move everything, and open everything up. So yeah. Yeah. Did you have something, Michael? I'm sorry. You look like you were going to say something.
No. I'm just enjoying what everybody's saying.
Yeah. I thought your costumes, I almost thought about asking, because another unsung hero, I mean, the set was the set, the lighting was the lighting. I thought, Jennifer did Edwards. She works at the Lawrence Welk Theater, and she's a fantastic designer. She would come in when we were finishing rehearsals and stay till 3:00 in the morning, just playing. And I go, are you okay? And she go, yeah, this is how I like to work. She liked to be there till 3 because she liked to be alone. She didn't want anybody bothering her. And we had that great rain effect, for when you guys went out in the rain. And there was, that was great. But the real thing was the costumes, because we basically made costumes for 42 some odd characters. I mean, not all of them were super elaborate, but all of you look different for each one of your characters. So yeah, Debbie Sullivan sort of pulled her out of retirement. I think I called her 6 months or so before we were even going to start, and said, would you do this? And she said, yep. And we talked and she started, but she did, I'm sure because you worked directly with her, she did a phenomenal job making everybody look right. And it didn't necessarily look exactly like everybody was so period, but it worked, for what we were doing. So
yeah, they were all distinct for the characters, and everything could be ripped away quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just about getting them, but also making them usable for the show too, which was a huge other task that she had to do.
Yeah.
I'll say I had a super ridiculous quick change out of a dress, and I just remember that dress being so just they're magnets in the back, and I so marvel at how easy it was just to be wearing a dress, boom, Now I'm a little boy,
That's right. That's right. You and Michelle played the Baker Street Irregulars. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
right.
Oh my God, that was funny. That was good stuff.
Yeah. And you played Mrs. The wife of the tobacconist or something, or the wife of who did she play? It was the wife of like the guy who ran the hotel. Yeah, she was deaf or something.
Yeah, we had the ear horn. Oi!
So nuts. So crazy.
The gross lipstick and all that.
I liked Bob having to change on stage into Sir Baskerville or whatever that costume was. Didn't you change from the maid into that, or didn't you come out and
Yes, right into Sir Hugo.
Right on stage.
Uh-huh.
It was such a difficult change for you. You could see you struggling those first few times. You were like, So yeah.
How is this gonna ever work? But
Mhm.
we got it to work.
And the painting, having you pose as the painting as Sir Baskerville. Yeah.
That was funny. I forgot about that. That was a good moment.
You're in a
Those
frame,
faces.
basically, as a painting, and you're not supposed to be moving. And of course, it's too much. Yeah, that was nutty. Did you guys have a least favorite moment? I mean, I'm sure that like the costume changes were difficult, but did you have a moment where you're like, I don't get this is not working for me, or I'm not feeling it, or a challenging moment?
I mean, there were things that were challenging to get right. Like I remember me and Michael struggling with pulling the hats down off the cape and stuff. But that just made it more satisfying once we finally got it. So
what was that? Tell us about the hats. Tell us about the hats real quick. What the hat bit was, just so people know what that is.
We were leaving the one scene, right, Robin? We were headed somewhere, and the hats dropped, and then they were on.
Grab them out of thin air.
Grabbed them and put them on. But it was, I don't know. You can fill in the blanks. I just remember
like a certain timing to it.
Anxious about getting it right.
I had to
Because it's
release
so ridiculous.
them, like,
The
on a
hats just coming out of
snap,
the
and they
sky.
had to land perfectly for you guys to catch them.
Yeah, they were up in the ceiling, and Darcy was off stage, right? And Robin, didn't you snap? We're off to the opera.
That's right. That was a snap.
And you would snap, and they would go and drop.
And it's
down.
not like we can look around like, where's my hat?
Put 'em on.
We gotta just like grab, and it's there. So every mistake.
I feel like we did nail it, right?
Oh yeah.
By the time we were running, it was working, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Getting the fog machine to work the way it was supposed to was an adventure. I loved that I got to play with dry ice, but
Yeah, because dry ice really does that thing where it like lays on the floor, and we had all those pipes as part of the set, and it was supposed to like flow out of those pipes, but there wasn't enough pressure or whatever, so it's hardly worth talking about. It's a source of irritation.
I remember like in most shows, it's like, how's the audience tonight? And I feel like we were like, how's the fog tonight? Because there was
right.
variation.
Yeah. Did you guys ever have a night where like the audience was just like, oh yeah, that's funny? Did you have quiet nights? I don't feel like you did.
I
Yeah.
don't remember.
No.
These guys were too good.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, if they weren't,
Everyone always thought we were just so hilarious.
Yeah, uproarious laughter every time.
and if they weren't providing the laughter, we would.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my biggest problem with the show. So like, I think like the key to this show is that the smaller parts, the actors, they're the stars of the show. I was sort of the straight man. They're doing all this ridiculous stuff, and I have to not laugh.
Right.
Getting the hair stuck in my mouth from Michelle and all the stuff Russell's doing, like just not laughing was half the show for me.
Yeah.
Amen. I totally agree. Just don't laugh at Bob and Michelle and Russell.
And that's really true. You guys are not the stars of the show.
No, our job is to get out of the way and let them go nuts.
Yeah, it's the three actors that you go, those guys are the ones. So, but it is cool to do that. Yeah, I just know that probably in the beginning, I always felt like when I saw it, that audiences were like, it's a comedy and they're kind of waiting, because Mrs. Hudson comes out and she does her thing, and then she comes out, and Sherlock, and it's just, it's kind of like, okay. And then once it starts, I just feel like there was some trepidation in the beginning, but once you guys started, that was it. Then they got it, because there's always that fear of, like, when you do a show, it's like, are they going to get this? Are they going to understand it? Are they going to follow it? So yeah, and you guys pulled that off, obviously. So, yeah. Did you have a least favorite moment, Russell?
This is the most stressful moment. So so even with all the crazy costume changes and such, it got to a point where it was basically it was a fun cruise. Like some of them were really close, but you knew that you were gonna get there, like, every time, because you were practiced and you knew what you're doing. The one where I was always all like, all right, you just gotta get this done, and then we're out of the clear, was that dumb show, dude. That dumb show.
Oh, the dumb show.
So
I forgot about the dumb show.
Yeah, you'd be like, well, we're at intermission, so that's fun, but now we gotta do the dumb show, and after that, we can go back. But yeah, that was really stressful. Like all the changes were incredibly quick, and the constraints of the space also made it especially challenging. But I mean, the audience, I feel like, in a situation like that, they're always very gracious. So so I'd come out, maybe I have like, I'm holding my coat closed with my arm that isn't quite in the sleeve, but the audience is like, yeah, I get it. It's doing some crazy stuff, so they'll kind of give you allowances. But
and just to clarify for people watching, it's the dumb show. There's a scene, and I guess that came in the top of Act 2, right?
Yeah.
When Watson and Holmes are sort of reunited at Baskerville Hall, and Holmes talks about all the characters. Well, in a regular show, these characters would just come out and parade across the stage, but you have 3 actors playing all those characters, so we would have you come out, circle around Holmes and Watson, go back, and then come right back out, and then a whole other persona, and do that several times. And that was a lot. I remember the first times we did that, it was like so off. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to work? And you guys got it to work. It was amazing. So yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
Stressful.
Very stressful. What about you, Michelle? Did you have a moment in the show that you were not fond of?
No, but what Russell just talked, and I remember going home and like creating the cheat sheets and just being like, I gotta figure this out. I need a cheat sheet here, a cheat sheet there. But the dumb show was one that I just up until closing night, that every night it was like, are we gonna get this? We have to get this. Are we gonna get it? We're gonna get it.
Yeah, I think
because there was the choreography on stage, but all the choreography backstage to make it all happen too. Like Darcy and Stephanie, like just being there and knowing exactly what piece needed to be put on and taken off.
Yeah. I mean, because it was, I imagine that moment was like, it's not a moment that, like, once you get it down, you go, okay, I got this. Every night there was that variable of like, we may not make it tonight. Yeah. And I don't think there were other moments like that. There was maybe 1 or 2 other moments where you're like, I may not make this change completely, but I'll at least make my entrance. And that one was like, there was a lot of pressure in that. What about you, Bob? Did you have a moment where you were a challenging moment? I'm sure the dumb show might be it.
Well, that's it. But also when the lights went out at the end of Act 1, and then I had to also go and try and retrieve the gun from the stage before I got off stage. I'm sure Darcy would have cleaned it up if it had been left on stage, but just trying to find the gun, and eventually I got into a rhythm where I knew where I flung the gun or dropped the gun. So but yeah, that was always stressful.
It's fun. What about you, Darcy?
The
whole show.
Well, the thing about the pace of the show was interesting. It was like all of the show is just like a sprint, and then we would get to the dumb show, and it would be like, do that 3 times as fast.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall, like, just the difficulties I had were technical, like making sure everything is where it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be there, and that once we got into a rhythm of that, it got pretty easy.
Yeah. And Robin, you only had like really no changes.
The story of the show is all the costume changes and all the crazy characters, and I wasn't part of any of that.
Yeah.
I had like 40 minutes to get into my, the mysterious old man rags or whatever, and I'm just chilling backstage while they're running around like crazy people. was
Did you ever feel guilty?
a little, maybe.
A little. Yeah.
It was kind of nice. But it was fun then to be able to watch and also to listen. Like I could hear what went on the stage and just enjoy their banter and stuff. So I really like just being able to appreciate the show and kind of watch it more. I'm sure they didn't have time for any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michael, you had one change. It was a little fast, but you didn't have like any quick changes or anything.
Well, it's funny. I had to change out of the suit and into the knickers and the jacket and the hat for when we're out on the moors.
Right.
And it was a very fast change. And oftentimes I just made it. And it would always be like what you were saying before, like, let's just hope it happens tonight. But then I would always stop and go, okay, there are like 3 people around me right now who are going mad, like wearing 50 different costumes. So there was no way I could complain about it.
Right.
But I did get a little like, this is a fast change. I resent this. You know what? I just wish I had 10 more seconds. But then I was just like, okay, those guys are going through like way more than I'm ever even gonna.
Yeah. I've seen that though. I've seen actors do that, and you're like, "What?" They're like,
so
"You're complaining about that.
Do
you know what he's doing?" So that's crazy. That's
I remember
crazy.
too, we had to figure out once we added in other people's costume changes too. We had to figure out like different hooks for different characters because just because you were discarding a piece doesn't mean you don't need it 10 pages later in a different place. So then it was like, great, we have this stage left, but it needs to get to stage right. And how do we make that happen too?
Yeah, choreographing how things would get from where it was left to where it was needed.
Right. Yeah. Luckily,
we added all the set pieces too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, luckily there weren't a lot of set pieces. I mean, there were some, but it wasn't like you had to navigate too much. So, but that was part of it. There were things that you had to navigate around, and it was a little nutty. So, yeah. And at that stage at that theater, I think a couple of you had to do the runaround to get your entrance, to go outside the theater and come back around through through the stage door, through the other door. So, yeah.
And not having to go behind was definitely kind of a challenge. And you'd have to make a change. Like I remember from the Castilian desk clerk to Dr. Mortimer, it's one of my favorite changes because I do it like every time, but it'd always be like close where I'd get a little bit of adrenaline where I'd take off the cravat, I'd take off my tailcoat, I'd be like running back, I'd have my glasses and my cravat and my other cravat for Dr. Mortimer like in my pocket. I'd have a handkerchief and I'd be running, I'd wipe off the mustache like that I drew on, cravat, glasses, and then I'm backstage, coat, hat, and then it'd be like, oh, it's Dr. Mortimer. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm late. Like just like every time I'd have no spare seconds. And that was honestly like fun.
Yeah. I remember you drawing on the mustache for the Castilian hotel clerk. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. And that was the other beautiful part is all of you really defined all those characters. I mean, that none of them blend together, from the tobacconist to the hotel clerk to the woman on the street. I mean, they were all different. They all had different vibes and different voices. Yeah. It was good. It was really a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I have to give some credit to Vanessa, our voice or dialect coach. And she really kept us on top of that. She reminded me at one point that one of my characters was starting to sound like a little bit like one of my other characters, and so then I was able to differentiate them a little better.
Yeah, shout out to Vanessa Denning. Yeah, she is British, but she does a lot of dialect coaching here in town. So that's great. Yeah, she really is good, and she's good about that. She's worked on a lot of Sherlock shows too, so it's funny. So yeah,
she really got me into shape. I remember she was on me about desk clerk. I haven't gotten that wrong.
What is that? What word is that?
I started the wrong character or the wrong voice.
Right.
You got mixed up.
Yeah.
Did it happen to any of you guys that you just like you're doing one character and you accidentally said the wrong voice and had to catch yourself?
Just being in like a different costume and such, or kind of having the visualization of where you're at, like that never. Like if I'm wrong on this, y'all call me out. But it ever happened to me?
I don't think it did. I
don't
think
think
once you
so.
guys donned the costumes, that was it. You jumped in and you were that person. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was really something. That's part of what makes it remarkable is that they all are really distinctive characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed the staging of it. I enjoyed having you in a chair as the guy in the black beard getting away in the cab. I mean, you were just in a chair on stage. I liked you guys on the bench, being on the horse-drawn carriage, and the hansom cab.
That's great.
I mean, just stuff like that. You guys being on the train together, I mean, just yeah. And you guys moving the door, and just I love the choreography of the door of it was just a door on wheels, a big giant wooden door, and you guys were in front of it, which established that you guys were in front of the Baskerville Hall, and then you guys would rotate it, and then you, Bob and Michael as Sir Henry and as Watson would walk through it and walk into the hall, and it just keeping it simple was really a lot of fun. That was a challenge as well. So yeah, it was good. And everybody looked great too. I mean, I thought Robin, you really pulled Sherlock off. I mean, it just you looked right. Everybody looked so
the
good.
costuming just felt right.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And the props, because he's always got his pipe or his hat or something. So there's always a prop to lean on with him, and that helped a lot.